What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fi here. We're going to be talking through this now 9-game MLB slate. It's funny. It's pretty weird what's happening with this Atlanta Mets situation, but I think people need to get their heads straight. And I'm calling out certain other people I've seen on Twitter today that I really don't understand how people are saying what a tragedy this is for the Mets and the Braves. What a terrible situation. No, the terrible situation is the hurricane. Okay. The Mets and Braves being postponed to a doubleheader on Monday is actually kind of fun. And also is not the main thing that's going on here. There's a lot of stuff going on. Let's not try to make this like over the top and, oh my God, how horrible, unfair to these teams. It's not unfair to these teams. They're fine. They'll be able to play on Monday, a doubleheader. It probably will mean a playoff spot, or very likely will. It is what it is. So we lost that game as we expected was going to happen earlier. And now we move on to the players we actually do have available. All right, let's get into to sort of my final things, and then we'll do a build. As I mentioned earlier, and those of you who are site members would see this reflected in my early builds. I do like the Blue Jays today a little bit. I think that's a team that I'm willing to roll with. I really like the idea of getting overweight the lowish owned Rockies. Not quite as low owned as they were going to be, but still, it's low enough owned where I feel good about it. So Toronto's actually getting a little more love just because they're so cheap now with the lineup they released. So I might even have to pivot off of that somewhat. Miami, even though I have an argument for both sides of this game, I have some interest in Cabrera. We'll get into pitching in a minute. But Minnesota, not Miami. Minnesota, Toronto, and Colorado are the three teams that I'm focusing on, as well as the low owned, just in case Dylan Cease has a bad game and you get the Dodgers at like 1% ownership. I think it's worth taking a gamble. So that would be the next one for me. The chalky one, Arizona. I think Arizona actually ends up a little more popular than this for what it's worth. But look, I love them today. I thought they were going to be a little more popular. Maybe let's see if we've got Goldie. We got Sheets projections in there. I'd love to see that. Love to see what Sheets' projections are popping in. That means he's going to be back soon. Goldie's got him a little lower. Arizona, I might have to add to the list if we really think this is what the ownership's going to be, because I really like Arizona. I know they're hard to get to, but there are some cheap pitchers, which we'll get into in a minute, that I think you consider. So those are the main games for me. I think it is another one of those slates where you can argue for a lot of stacks, but for me, I'm trying to keep it tight a little bit. What's up, Eagles? Good to see you, man. Mario, good to see you. What do you think of Miami as a mini kind of like a Norby Xavier? I never have an issue with Miami personally. I think you could definitely take that shot. I actually don't even mind them as a little bit more of a stack. I think you could argue for Miami. I didn't get there myself. If I was playing 150, maybe I would have. We'll talk through some pitching, and then we're going to get into where we're going to go, the builds and what SaberSim's going to give you and all that stuff. Please do like and subscribe and all that stuff, guys. Reminder, this promo is about to end. So it's literally like the best deal you'll find out there. I would encourage people to check it out and give us a shot. We also do have the 1099 trial still running where you get the SaberSim, everything, the ultimate package, along with Sheets' projections, Goldie's projections, all my content, all of Cruz's content, all of Rody's, etc. So let's talk through it a little bit for the pitching. Without Sale, you're going to see some spread out ownership elsewhere. The ones who I've glommed onto the most are Gallen and Gausman. Not a shocker. They're the highest projected pitchers. They're the pitchers with the highest projected strikeouts on the slate. That's where I'm going to go. You do notice, though, that there's interesting low ownership, and I don't really understand. I'm kind of surprised it's going to be this low. I actually think it'll be a little bit higher for Cabrera. Cabrera is an extreme. Like I said, I like Minnesota, and I think you have to get some Cabrera as well if you're multi-entering. You see he's fourth on the list for projected strikeouts on the slate at 6,200. Allows you to get into some of those bigger bats you want. I think that's a really reasonable one. So I do like the Cabrera quite a bit personally. Although again, I'm talking out of both sides on that one because he's one of those pitchers. You can play Cabrera, you can stack against him. Both sides are extremely viable. Just looking at his last few games, he had a -9 last time out against the Dodgers, forgivable. The night the Dodgers scored 20. But he put up 30 the previous two games before that against Philly and at Washington, which are not easy teams to put up a huge number against. Philly sometimes is, but anyway, I think Cabrera has tremendous upside as always. I also think there's tremendous upside against him. So that's where I ended up on that. Davis Martin is another one that I'm interested in. Not the high strikeout upside guy that you want, but good enough probably against this Angel team. So I am getting to some of that. And Jose Suarez is the other cheap one that I have some interest in, but I think I have less than I did earlier because the pitch projection we still got him at 92 pitches. Wow. Okay, we'll see. It's possible. I just don't think it's the median average, but hey, I think it's totally worth the shot. You want to play against these White Sox and Angels. We talked about it yesterday. I played Cannon. I played Kokkinevich a little bit, and honestly, those were probably my best lineups. So it is what it is. I don't see what your comment is, Pope. Enter it now, and I'm happy to answer it. Twins have been playing bad ball too. I don't think that doesn't really mean anything for me personally. The Twins are going to do their best. They're going to do all the pinch hitting possible and all that stuff. But that's the reason why it's hard to stack them. And it's true they have not been at their best lately. But I'm not really taking anything into account except for the Cabrera has upside for a guy who's 6,200. He's got the fourth highest projection for strikeouts on the slate. 6,200, and he's going to be significantly lower owned than a number of guys behind him who, while they might be a little bit safer, I don't think have even close to the upside. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Cabrera was the highest scoring player on this slate. But like I said, Gausman and Gallen are going to be my main guys in my main stack. So I'm going to run some builds here. Sheet said he may show up. I don't think he's going to show up tonight probably, but I expect him to be back tomorrow, and that'll be awesome. I'm just going to run a contest sim. Quick, who's the first one to say what contest we're going to be simming today? Want to decide to do one for the people. We usually do the lottery, but I would love to see what you guys have and if there's anything else. You know what I'm going to do though, just to mess with it, because I want to show you what we have to offer and why I love Sheets' projections. I love it. Just any extra step to get different, any step you can take, even if they're only slight numbers, especially if you're using this as a tool to multi-enter. I think it makes a lot of sense. So. The only one there's going to be some misses because I think Sheets probably isn't quite totally up to date yet. So you might lose some like Tyler O'Neill's or whatever. I'm still going to try to run one with it. So you know what? For that one, we'll run the lottery and then we'll run whichever one you guys suggest you'd like to see run after that. So the lottery today is the hidden ball trick. Okay, we're going to save settings. Keep in mind, Deep and everybody out there, I love the questions. I love the thoughts. I just want to remind everybody, I am going back and forth between screens. So it might take a minute to get to some of the questions and thoughts. Okay, so and afterwards we'll run the battery for Harris, I guess, too, and I'll see what Deep Hope said in a minute. The shorter the questions, the easier. All right, let's run this. We're going to run this one first, and we're going to use Sheets' projections. Then we're going to go back to SaberSim's projections and see what changes and what we get. So let's let this run. Okay, so Deep Hope says, I said Bobby and full stacks tonight. Yes, mostly full stacks. I do have. It depends on what you're like. I think in the single entry stuff, you can play some 4-4s, 4-3-1s, 4-2-2s, that kind of thing. But I think mostly you're looking at 5-mans. I don't think you have to, but I think that's mostly what I'm going to end up on. Oh, nice. I don't know what that contest is, but it sounds like you chopped a good one. That's great, Deep Hope. I'm happy to see you take one down. I'd love to hear it. All right, look right here, and we are going to have this in just a second. So we're going to take a look at it before and then after we run the contest sims. So let's see. All right. Come on. Finish it up. Finish it up here. Finish it up. Come on. All right. So, all right. Come on. Here we go. All right. So let's see what we got. So a pitcher, they're going to go with exposure. Yeah, they went all Gausman, Gallen, basically. Bradford, Flaherty, Suarez, Cabrera, C's. Okay. But mostly it's those. And the team stacks, they have the White Sox and Angels as the highest owned. So let me just say something about this. This keeps happening, and we keep seeing these teams as chalk. There's only one team in baseball that hasn't scored 10 runs in a game this season, and that's the Angels. Not that you need 10 runs to win, but it would be nice to see that kind of upside. When you have the two worst offenses as the most popular, I'm just going to be the pivot guy. I'm just going to be pivoting. That's the fact. I don't care what every sim is going to tell me. Doesn't mean I would have no exposure there. You can see the pool exposure, but they like them in general. Now let's run the contest sim and see what we get and see what changes. We'll start with the pitching. But I personally, that's not what I want to do is the Angels and White Sox. Yeah, sometimes it's going to get there. Sure. I totally understand the pieces. They're super cheap. And if they're running the expensive pitchers out, I guess that's why. But 7.5 totals with wind blowing against you at 60 degrees in Chicago is not like my favorite thing to target either. So let's wait for this. Then we're going to run this. And remember, we're using Sheets' projections here, which are going to probably slant. That's probably why you see like they're contrarian and they're very, very cheap. So I do think that's why the Angels and them show and White Sox show up. I would just try to get less exposure, especially as far as 5-man stacks go. Okay. So here we go. We ran the sim, 20 lineups here. Gausman, Gallen still, Flaherty behind them. I didn't get to Flaherty, and I'm a Dodger fan. I like Bradford the next most as a spend up, but I'm not getting to him really either. I like to spend down or spend up for Gausman and Gallen. That's where I'm at. Let's see what we got for the team stacks. And yeah, it's still coming up, Angels and White Sox. I'm going to change something, and then we're going to rerun this and then we're going to run the battery and all that. Let's take a quick look here. So we've got the White Sox, then we got Texas. Now, what percentage? I think they're all going to be 5-man stacks pretty much because those teams are cheaper. Well, not as many as there's some 4-3s and 4-2s and 4-4s in there. Okay. And is there any special hitter that they're targeting? Just I'm just curious to see with Sheets' projections what they would be targeting. And I'll run through the min uniques and all that stuff in a little bit. Let's just take a quick look. Where am I missing? Okay, exposure. Yeah, you can see it's all those guys, and then White Sox, Texas. Angels, White Sox, and Rangers. I think we could find some other things. I do like the Rangers for what it's worth. Of those 3 teams, give me the Rangers way ahead of the Angels and White Sox, and they're actually like pretty cheap also. So I would personally be trying to get some of that. These numbers also have old things in there. So like guys who aren't in the lineup like Vargas, but Vargas just turns into Brian Ramos anyway. So we're gonna run this again. We're gonna use this time SaberSim's projections. So let's reset the projections. Okay, we're gonna go SaberSim. All right, and then let's rebuild and see what changes things. All right. Okay, Evaldi coming back out last night got me there. Oh, good, nice. Anyway. Any ways to keep the exposures you want when you late swap? I don't know how you would do that. The whole point of late swapping is that you're going to be changing. So I honestly don't understand how. I don't know what you mean on that one, Depot. It's again, I do not use the sims for these things hardly ever, almost never. I always reference them. I almost never use them in my building. I feel I can make a decision on a 2v2 and a 3v3 in a later slate, especially in sports that are more predictable, like basketball. I was almost going to say football, but football is not really as predictable either, especially early in the season. Corey's saying 5-man single entry. Those questions are very tough to answer because if you're asking about 5-man's, that's what you're mostly going with in single entry, I think. But yeah, you can go 4-mans. I think your aiming in general is going to almost always be 5-mans. All right, so again, using SaberSim projections. Without that, we have Gausman, Suarez, Gallen, and pretty significant ownership there. Then you've got the Angels, Colorado. I love that because that I'm guessing that almost all those are going to have the Suarez in there. But no, I did, Corey. The point is that it's like somebody came in last night and said, "What's the best pitcher and the best team to stack in a tournament?" Like I don't know how to. And it's just like, okay, are we just going to completely take away any thought out of it? SaberSim is the best tool to do that, and I would just trust them if that's the way you want to play. If you want to put your own spin on it, which I do suggest for people who know the game a little bit, that's a little bit different. As a Dodger fan, am I nervous about the Padres? I don't think that much of the Padres as a threat, but yeah, in 3-game series, anybody can win 3 games, and the playoffs are a joke in baseball. I've said this over and over again my whole life. Anybody who thinks that the best team almost like in baseball, the best team I would say rarely wins. In football, I'd say the best team mostly wins. In basketball, the best team almost always wins. Baseball, I'd say it's very rare. Last year, you had a team that was 84-78 in the Diamondbacks that were like literally like basically a 500 baseball team. I mean, that's 84-78 is pretty close. You're 84-78 and you end up winning the wild card thing and then winning and advancing, all that stuff. Yeah, it's fun for the run and all that stuff, but if anybody really thinks that the Diamondbacks were the second best team in baseball last year, they should probably have their head examined. It's a really unfair thing to do based on the whole season. You play all these things out, and then these absolute nonsense things come out. Like it's just nonsense. You just have guys who get on little hot streaks, and everybody's like, "Oh, this team choked." I'm like, they played a 3-game series, 3 out of 5. The best teams in baseball history will lose a 3 out of 5 to maybe not this White Sox team, but they'll lose a 3 out of 5 to any below average team in history. So it just I get fired up about the playoffs because my Dodgers for the last 20 years have probably had the best team in baseball 10 times at least, and we've got one title to show for it. So kind of frustrating. But yeah, I'm not nervous about the Padres. I'm annoyed. Last night's game was really annoying. You're trying to, they tried to sacrifice what they should have kept with, and then you get the triple play to end the game with Ohtani on deck, down by 2 with 2 runners on with the previous batter up, and then you've got Ohtani, and even if they sacrifice him over, they intentionally walk Ohtani. That means they have winning runs on base, and Betts is up with Freeman. So you have 3 of the best 10 players in baseball in a row, and there's just almost no way that, I mean, how many triple plays have we seen the whole season? I don't know if we've had a game-ending triple play. I can't remember a game-ending triple play this season. Maybe it's happened. I don't remember the last time it did happen. Did I run the sim? All right, I think I might have already. So let's see. Yeah, we did. Okay, so let's do the RA, ROI, and let's see what we're really getting now. Okay, this is now looking more like a human type of thing. We only are building 20, so keep that in mind. So probably tightening the pool a little bit. Gausman, Gallen, Suarez, Bradford, Martin, Cabrera, Flaherty, Cease, Eflin only a little bit. I'm totally good with this type of pitching. I would feel comfortable going to battle with this pitching situation. Still getting to more White Sox than I necessarily love. I actually don't mind the White Sox is the funny thing, but I just feel like they're getting like, I don't know why they'd be the most popular. Oh, Vargas is in there, by the way. I said he wasn't, but Vargas and Ramos are both in there at third base. So you have your pick, I guess. Oh, wait. What just changed? How did it change? Like, I guess it was still rerunning it. So we've got, Oakland, Miami, Texas. Speaking of that was that question that Mario had early on about the Miami. I don't mind that idea. I think that is very reasonable. You see the pool of 5,000 lineups that came up with 10% of that. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty high percentage. Yeah, we know the Mets Braves have been postponed for a while. They're not playing until Monday. They'll play on Monday, a doubleheader. We'll see if that determines who gets in the playoffs. All right. What else popped up here? San Francisco. Interesting. That's interesting. Gallen's had some struggles, so I kind of get that one. And then we've got, it's actually pretty spread out. So I want to mess with the menu uniques and see what it changes. But I have a feeling it's spread out enough to where I don't think it's going to change that much until we get to a higher menu unique. And I like if you're going to play 20 lineups to have at least 30% of three things. That makes plenty of sense to me. So now it tightened up at the top with Miami, Texas. So what I did earlier when I didn't build, but I like to mess around with it because occasionally I will use it to build. But what I did is I knew I wanted to focus on the stacks that I liked. Toronto's a little more popular than they were going to be, but I still would want some exposure to them. So let's just say we do this. Let's see what changes both pitching and hitting. Let's just say we did this. And we went Minnesota, who is showing up. Let's do 25. And let's do Colorado 25. Because remember, these stacks are not all going to be 5-man that they're adding. So let's see what this gets us. I really like to get to those Colorado. So there we go. They've got up to the 30% Colorado. I feel a little better about this. Probably a little too spread out. Let's try and mess with the min uniques again. It's not going to – it might tighten up just at the very top. No. Let's try one more time. All right, there you get the Miami in there. So I'm okay with something like this. I do want to get I like the Dodgers as a very contrarian play, and it's not just a homer thing. It's just because Dylan Cease – we know he has blow-up games, and it's the best offense in baseball for DFS because they score the most fantasy points. When you combine home runs, stolen bases, et cetera, et cetera. Not like amazing hitting weather in LA tonight. It is 68 degrees. You have 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, but that's pretty much the standard for Dodger Stadium. So that's sort of where you have it. And let's just see if we change the pitching much with what we did. Gausman, Gallen still coming in even harder. Then you've got Martin, Suarez, Cabrera. I like Cabrera a little bit better at lower ownership, much higher. Like there's higher risk, but there's much higher upside with the strikeout upside that he's got versus Suarez and Martin in general. He's just a good strikeout pitcher who can, if he gets it going, he can put up a big number. Like I said, he's put up 30 in 2 out of his last 3 starts. All right, guys. Any other questions or thoughts before we get out of here? Let's see. Deepop's question again. Yeah, I still don't know how to answer that one. So like when you're doing that automatic late swap, I don't think you can do that exactly because it's filling in the best fits. But you can go back and edit your bigger lineups yourself. That's what I do. If I do use it, it would probably be more likely to use it in something where I'm playing like 150 on a Sunday, and I can update the Millionaire Maker because it's giving me the best chances. But I will hand update the other ones because I can, I'm only playing 10 to 15 lineups, plenty of time to do that by hand. I actually have always been a person who's built by hand. I used to build 150 by hand every day, and it's interesting. So I kind of like this where we sort of ended up here. Again, I don't have the Miami, but I don't mind it. I don't have the Padres, but I don't mind it. I don't have the Oakland, but I don't mind it. I do like the Colorado, Minnesota quite a bit. And I want to get to Toronto and LA. I'm just a little annoyed by how high owned the Toronto side of it might end up being. I don't know if they're really going to be. Let's just take another quick look at their projections here, and let's see what we've got. So I'm just want to see I think they're going to be a little more popular than I love, and I definitely don't want to play the 5-man stack without Vlad. Let me just make sure the stacks exposure stay right. So So this feels good. Like I feel okay with this. Sheets would want to say, no, I want 5 mans, it's a big slate. Totally fine with that. He's done great with his system. Why wouldn't you do what Sheets does if he does that? But he does a lot of other things that are a little different than everybody else that I just don't think anyone else is going to be quite as sharp at. So I would be good going into tournaments with this. Like, let's say I was playing in the 100 and the whatever. I would be very comfortable with that, with those kind of numbers. Anyway, we appreciate you guys. I know that some of you guys are going to do it. Shout out to Roto Grinders and Crunch Time. Those guys do a great job. Obviously, I used to work there for years. Love those guys. So check. When you get out of here, go check out what they've got on Crunch Time tonight. We've got football coming up tomorrow, along with more baseball. The playoffs are tightening up. I really don't want this. I just don't want the Dodgers to not. I want them to win the division. I like them to have the best record in baseball. They still have a very good chance at it. But last night was a little bit gut wrenching because that 9th inning, I had this really weird feeling we were going to look at like everything Ohtani keeps doing with this magic. I thought okay, here comes a walk-off home run from Ohtani or something crazy was going to happen. And shame he didn't get the chance because the triple play to end the game. The guy who won the 100K last night posted in the 111. He's like having a bunch of people with Ohtani behind you with needing 5 fantasy points and he's coming up again. And then you see a triple play and you just, man, some people are blessed. That's all I can say. Anyway, click the like button on your way out. We appreciate you guys. I'll be in Discord the rest of the night. If anybody who's a site member has any questions,